Hello everybody, welcome to ArtStory, your local TV show profiling the best arts around Windham County and artist things. And today we have a pretty good show. Welcome to season 3 of ArtStory. And we have awesome guests today. We have Alan Steinmark. That's not at all the Steinberg. Sorry. You are a ceramic teacher. And artist here, and also a psychotherapist. We're going to talk a little bit more about your work in a little bit. And we also have Fred Taylor, writer, environmental writer, and teacher at CCB, Kent State, and Antioch. And Chantilly, who is the current president of the not ArtStory, you're the executive producer here, but at the Art Council, you're the president, and many hats as well. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Is everybody doing good?
Yeah.
Cool. So I would like to first say that I am really happy that we've been having the show. And before we go any in depth, I want to say thank you, Shanta, for doing all the great work that you've been doing. And before we start, this is gonna kind of give us into this. Can you tell us what is the status on you that you're leaving soon?
Oh, yes. So I am stepping down from my role as president of the Arts Council of Windham County. I've been serving for about 2.5 years. Well, yeah, about 2.5 years in the role of president, and started off as a board trustee in 2014. I'm still going to be involved with different things in the area and in the region, but I'm transitioning out of my leadership role, and there's a going away party too. So I'm excited about that. The going away party is Friday, September 8th, and people will find out a lot of information about that.
Nice. And one of those things that we're going to talk about is the healing with the arts, and both of you are going to be there present, and which I'm very interested in, like how art can heal. I feel like there's so many ways that art heals, but one of those things is the environment. So, Fred, can you let me know a little bit more about your work that you do these days?
Yeah, one of the themes that's very important to me in my work as a writer is a sense of place, the sense of connection that we have with places that are special to us. And I think one thing that happens in our world today is that because of our busy lives, because of the things that we're caught up with in our thinking, our heads, that we get cut off from our connection with nature. And that is a profound loss, because as humans, we need that sense of a place to belong and a place that we can relate to. And so for me, the act of writing becomes a way of recovering that sense of connection with place. And so that's a healing of what I like to call a healing of the split between the outer landscape and the inner landscape. And when that happens, then we become invigorated, we become whole, and we also become more committed to working to preserve the places that we love. So it's both a spiritual process and also an inspiration to activism.
I want to talk more about your activism, but you get me with the creating stuff and kind of forming things, which want to mix me back to you. Alan, you're a ceramic artist,
Right.
And a psychotherapist as well. How does that work? Is it separately, or?
It started off separate. I think my own process with my own inner work, working with clay, gradually cued me into the fact that the work that I was doing wasn't just about creating something I could put a price tag on and put in the gallery and sell. It was also about processing who I am and what I need to do to become more than I am so far. And to heal wounds that are unresolved. And working with any art form, I think, has the potential to do that. And clay has a particularly good role because it's so tactile. When you say that something moves us emotionally, we say we feel touched. And clay is all about touch. So I think of it as a great way of getting in touch with our inner lives, our connection to each other, a connection to the environment that allows us to be here. All of that.
That got me into thinking about sometimes as we want to create other stuff and focus on everything outside of ourselves, but you're mentioning like how important it is to heal ourselves. This is, I guess, open to everybody. It's like what things help you be more centered as an artist or activist or all this stuff?
I actually should add, like in answering that question, part of this work, which is an ongoing series, started out of a need to address and do something in regards to what, not just artists and creatives, but also how do we meet the need and help individuals who may want to create or think about creating, get a bridge, draw a bridge. And so we got to artists in the environment by an initial planning process that took 6 months last year. And it started off with looking at healing with art, expressive arts therapists. And then the more we thought about it, the more we wanted to continue that work. And so the series has been unfolding and looking at all the different ways that individuals are engaging with art, with themselves, and in relationship to the bigger question of healing and what is the connection, because sometimes we see those things as separate, healing as something that is very medical and that someone else or group of someone else's are in charge of. And then art and artists and the work created and produced by artists is separate from that process. So this has definitely given us an opportunity to have more integration with that. And Unzip More series that are going to be coming up in the fall, and looking forward to 2018 in terms of how do we continue to explore these different art topics.
Yeah. So I'm excited about what have you been thinking about how you're going to start this next art healing with art? I'm curious because people might want to know how the framework of that is going to be like.
This upcoming. Yeah, we definitely have talked about that.
So is it going to be like a Q&A, or like how is it? Is it just a panel, or?
I think that's a very good question. It is not going to be a Q&A. It's not going to be a lecture. It's not us providing information and everybody receiving it. It's going to be participatory. Exactly. It's like we're all going to be working, playing together. There'll be individual processes and then there'll be group processes.
Which is very exciting because the previous, those panels were well attended and well appreciated. It was more on the end of dialogue, but this time around, as myself and Sarah Bowen have been engaging with Fred and Alan, it's been about how do we explore this topic in relationship to engaging people with their head, heart, and hands, and their spirits. And as Fred beautifully said about the landscape, the inner and the outer, and it was so key to make this more about a certain type of kinesthetic engagement. And providing space to kind of think outside of the box so that, individuals don't feel like they have to be well-versed as environmentalists, nor do you have to be well-versed about writing or working with clay. But it's an invitation, as Alan has said, to play together and also explore this topic more.
Hands-on.
Yes.
I like that. And there's only a certain amount of people that there's room for this, right? It's like
limited space. We set the space cap at 25, and a little more than half of that is filled already.
So, so maybe when this airs, which would be like a week before, I don't know if we're gonna have space for you, but we're gonna make a little thing before we go on, so we can get people in, because it's only 25 people. That's not a lot of people.
That's not a lot of people.
We should add, though, that there will be other opportunities in the fall after this unzipping, there's going to be another edition of the Healing with Art community. Sarah Bowen is going to be possibly doing something in October. And we're also talking about 2018, and we've talked to Fred and Alan about the possibility of something else possibly happening in 2018 as we explore a different topic, which is going to be focused more on, the nourishing of the artist. And we're still exploring that, but don't fret. If you can't make it, it's okay, right?
The other thing we should add is that Alan and I will be leading a whole weekend workshop at the end of September, 21st through
22nd through 24th.
24th, at a lovely little retreat center up in Townsend called the Empty Center. And that'll be an opportunity to engage in these kind of processes for a whole weekend. And so if you can't make this event, that's a wonderful opportunity. And if you can make this event, we hope it will entice people to want to come for more.
Yeah.
So,
and if people can come to the September, early September, is there a website or something people can look up, or phone number?
On the Brattleboro Clayworks website, there's a button that takes you to the different members of the Clayworks, and when you hit Alan Steinberg, I've got a bunch of subsections, including workshops. And also articles, including an article that Fred wrote and I wrote, and they were both in Studio Powder magazine. And the interesting thing about the article is I wrote about writing and he wrote about working with clay.
That's interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
So that's kind of cool. How long have you been known each other? How long been working together?
How long have we known each other?
We've known each other, at least 20 years.
Yeah,
we've
God,
worked
20
together
years.
At least 10 years. So we've led workshops together in St. John, the Virgin Islands, Pendle Hill in Pennsylvania, Cape Cod, Truro. Yeah.
Can you help me figure out how to lead workshops in St. John and
Sure, we'll talk about that later.
So you've been an activist, Fred, for a while, I'm sure, and I'm wondering, with all these people, I've never seen this much engagement in people. What is something that I guess gives you hope these days, and towards the environment? What are some things that are giving you hope?
That's a question I wrestle with a lot, because it's hard to have hope these days in many ways. I get a lot of hope from the energy of my students, because they're out there. These are usually college-age students in their early 20s, and they're very committed to making the world a better place. And part of what I help them to do in the classes is to understand the role that each individual can play, and how important it is that each person find their own special role, their own unique way. But they're out there, they're just ready to go to work, and I think this is our future. So that gives me a lot of hope. I think also I see happening in our culture a reawakening of passion about caring for the earth, partly because of the threats. People see that these are issues we really need to be paying attention to. An example is what happened with President Trump withdrawing from the climate accord, and then the Paris Climate Accord, and then all around the country, mayors, states, activist groups are saying, we are going to still fulfill our obligations. So people are taking it upon themselves to really protect the earth.
Well, speaking of that too, speaking of that awakening, wouldn't you both say that the awakening might come from perhaps deconstructing the concept that nature is out there? And because there's at least in my observations, I've noticed it's so easy in our modern world to see ourselves as not a part of nature, but we are of it. And so, would you say that some of that has led to more of a awakening in some ways?
that stimulates something for me. One of the things that Fred and I have shared more and more these days is our sense of the importance of the work of Joanna Macy. She spoke to a sold-out house here in Brattleboro, September 17th, and BCTV showed it afterwards. We've both worked with her, and more we incorporate some of her work that reconnects into our process. We won't be doing it in the September 7th event because we're going to be indoors, but up in Townsend we might do it. We've certainly done it on St. John, is an exercise that comes from Joanna Macy where you pair off with somebody else, you put on a blindfold, and the other person is your guide and leads you around and brings you to things in the environment, and you put out your hand and you touch them. And experience them with everything but your eyes. You can smell them, listen to the sound they might make. And at some point, your guide will occasionally invite you to take off the blindfold or open your eyes, whichever one you're doing, and look at the object. But the guide always says, look at this object and see yourself in the mirror. And I think that says a lot. And the processing that I've been involved in when I've been in that exercise with other people, when we both take it off and talk about what it was like for us, people tend to break down in tears because of the impact that it has for them. Because it breaks down that boundary between what they see and who they are.
I like that. I think for me, that's one of the biggest realizations of like, I am not outside of nature. I am one in nature, right? Another way that I like to visualize sometimes is like, you see mushrooms that come out, and you think, oh, that's just that little mushroom, right? But you don't think about the mycelium that is the network that goes in between the roots.
Oh yes, that's
and
great.
they're all together, like that's what we we are, And we see examples of all in the internet. I'm excited about the mushroom family. When we start like this, I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm kind of happy about this. I'm getting chills. I'm gonna go to the Mushroom Festival in Telluride, Colorado next week.
Oh,
Learn more about mushrooms.
okay. Mushroom identification.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
They're good for you.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Maybe, I think we should all like shaga. Anyways, we can go. I can keep talking about mushrooms.
Yeah. There's a poem that Carl Sandburg wrote. I didn't identify it as his. I didn't expect it to be his, and there was his name on the top, called Wilderness. And I can't quote the whole poem, but essentially he's saying, I have this animal in me. I have an eagle in me. I have a baboon in me. I have this animal. I have a whole zoo inside me. And I keep all these animals inside me because the wilderness tells me to. And then we work in writing and in clay in response to that. And you never know who wants to come to you and ask you to sculpt it or to have a written conversation with it in which it gives you information that you are lacking and you need.
I like that.
I look at dreams that way too.
Yeah,
very much
it's in the same ballpark, isn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm excited, and I'm excited about this this series that is ongoing. That I think there's a lot of healing to be done, and I like that we're focusing on the self first, and then see how we can change it in the environment, So is there, just a quick question, is there any big, what were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to come back to you used the word play earlier, and I think this is really a key word in the way we like to work together, but in the larger context of the healing process, that we so often think of art as a finished product. Like as a writer, I'm worried about getting something published, or what's it going to look like after I've edited it and revised it, or if you're doing clay work, people often think of clay as finished pots that are just the right thickness and that sort of the perfectly finished artifact. But I think that conception of art actually is part of what keeps us from being healed, because we're so focused on the product that we're not tuned into the process. And the process is where the healing happens.
Yeah.
And we love to work together in a way that encourages the spirit of play. So getting people pounding the clay, or just free writing, writing without thinking about what your product is going to be.
Yeah.
And then, or even writing, even speaking and having someone else write down what you say as a way of overcoming the barrier to putting words on the page. So we have a lot of gimmicks that we love to explore as a way of bringing out this sense of play, and that then also helps people to overcome their whatever hesitation or kind of even resistance they might have to expressing themselves creatively.
So true.
Yeah. It's not always acknowledged that the art world is not immune to judgmental standards. And people will come to an art experience and say, "Oh, I'm not talented. I'm not artistic." And the piece of me wants to say, "So who told you that?"
Or the great one is, "Oh, I'm not creative."
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, there is a lot of dialogue, especially here in the area, that has led to that thinking, where groups of people saying, "Well, we need credentials as artists." And if that were the key, if that were the truth, I would never be able to call myself a photographer. I do not have an MFA. And so, but I write, and I'm an artist, and I do all these different things, but I didn't wait for a piece of paper to tell me that either.
Right.
So I think it's so key that we're inviting, through this series and other ones to come, we're inviting people to just break down the barriers of what they think of when they think of who's an artist, who or what is the artist.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. I've had it pointed out to me that the word art has an etymological root similar to the root for the word for religion, and that root is putting things together. So when I take this here and that here that are supposedly about different things and put them together, all of a sudden there are connections made, and the sense of separateness and disassociation get healed. And when I work with some other artists, different people whose point of view is necessarily different from mine, then we come up with something that's far bigger, more than anything we could do ourselves. And I think that's a very important part of our process, don't you think?
Like that. Collaborative play. Play is where it's at. Kids learn better when they play. Humans forget about playing as we get older, and play more, everybody. You need to play more of all the things that you have. Play with them. Just create and be fun. You're an artist, right? Everybody's an artist.
Everybody's an artist.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited about this. I really want to be there at the hopefully there's room for me still.
Sign up quick.
Sign up quick.
I'm gonna sign up.
RSVP.
Hopefully we can bring the camera as well, so we can get some of the experiences.
Oh, that'd be
people.
great.
That would be great. That would be absolutely great.
Cool, awesome. Again, the date is?
It is on Thursday, September 7th, and
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
118 Elliott Street.
Yep, 118 Elliott Street, and also all the information is on Facebook. We're updating information on the website, www.acwc.us, and information's everywhere, so we've been posting it.
Awesome, thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure. Any last words you would like to say? A couple of words that come to your mind? Actually, I'm going to ask you, the four of you, what's going through you right now as we've had this conversation?
For me, I have found one of the most important practices in life to produce a state of well-being is the practice of gratitude. It's not the other way around. You don't start to feel grateful because you're happy. You start to be happy because you have a practice of gratitude. So, thank you.
Thank you. Right.
For me, I guess I would say that every moment is a chance to find wholeness, and often we can find that through very simple acts like breathing, like sitting still, like opening our eyes, looking at the world around. Open your eyes and look at yourself in the mirror. So.
Beautiful. Kenta?
I would say I've been having a lot of conversations with individuals about how to respond to complex issues, whether they are complex issues happening right here in Brattleboro or in the world. Currently, people are hand-wringing about certain national news. And I want to remind everybody, as I remind myself, there are two big things. One is giving back to yourself first, because I think it's so easy to say, well, I'm not doing anything, especially as it relates to the environment and a lot of really big, complex things that may feel like it's out of our hands. So first, you can give back to yourself, and you have a duty to be kind and give gratitude to yourself, which is something we forget. And the second is in the wheel of really big things since the beginning of time, you can be in charge, and this is going to sound funny, you can be in charge of feeding your children or your dog or your cat. You can be in charge of making sure your neighbor is okay. You can be in charge of reaching out to your loved ones or figuring out how you can contribute your piece to your community. And I think it's very easy for people to forget that. So those are like two main things that come to mind, especially as I've been thinking about the topic of healing and art, and like, how do you begin to address these really big things? And you start with yourself, and you start local, very local, in your house with yourself.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Alan, Fred, Shanta. Thank you so much for coming to the show. And we're going to end with a compilation of what's been happening the last two years with our story. So
It's been 2 years already? Wow.
it's been 2 years.
Cool.
Crazy.
That's right. You said year 3.
Yes.
Yeah. So here we go. How's it going, everybody? My name is Esler Oreste, and I'm the host of ArtStory.
And I'm Chantalee Gander, and I'm the executive producer of ArtStory.
And together we've had this awesome show for 2 seasons.
It's already been 2 seasons?
It's been 2 seasons.
We're now entering the 3rd season, and we want to take this moment to show you a little bit about what we've been doing over the past couple of seasons and how they can support, right, Esler?
That's right. And just before I say anything else, just check this out. How's it going, everybody? My name is Esler. I'm the host of this new show called ArtStory. This is ArtStory, your local arts show in town. And this is ArtStory, your local art show. This is ArtStory, your local art show, profiling your local artists and artist stuff that are happening around. My name is Esler, and today we have a pretty cool show.
The life of a self-employed artist. You're always busy. You're always out there working on the next job. You're planning for the job that you don't yet have.
From New Jersey originally, which means my ethnicity is who knows.
I'm indigenous. That just wasn't safe. Like, you just didn't do that.
We're going to make America great again. When was it great? Because if you go back 20 years ago, they were trying to make it something else because it wasn't.
Should not be